about the schools that are represented in the final. We see some wrestlers from the quote-unquote superpowers, but it's more spread out this year.
Matt, there were 25 schools represented this morning. That's a tremendous amount to be represented in the morning round. No one had more than 4, or a few schools had 3. No one has dominated Region 3 this year.
The quarterfinals were held last evening, the semifinals this morning. So in less than 24 hours, these wrestlers have gone through an awful emotional experience, a physical challenge. What has to happen? What do they have to do to get through the next 6 minutes?
Now there's the mental preparation, not just the athletic ability that they obviously have to be at this point. It's being ready when they take the mat. It's breaking a sweat. It's having that perspiration kind of be felt throughout the body so that they don't make the mistake in the first 30 seconds when they hit their feet on the mat. That's going to be the key for our finals.
All right, the wrestlers are being introduced to the crowd at hand here at Union High School. The Region 3 championships are just moments away. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back with the 103-pound bout right after this. Union High School, and we are just about set for the start of this afternoon's action, and we begin with the 103-pound championship, and a familiar name will take on that young man, Jamie Tracy. He hails from Boonton, and he will face Jonathan Sachsel, a sophomore out of New Providence High School, and the son of the gentleman who has joined us over the years for commentary on our matches, and of course an outstanding coach in his own right. Jerry, what goes through your mind at this moment?
This is probably the most relaxed I've been, Matt. Last night it was that key to try and get into the Final Four in place as a sophomore when one has a son involved, and it was less pressure this morning when he had a very difficult match and won in overtime. What he has is a nice future, but he's a sophomore, and we're against an extremely tough senior in Tracy from Boonton. He's been here 4 times. He's a very accomplished wrestler, and it's the Boonton wrestler that will have the strength and the experience against maybe the young vitality of the Sachsel that we see out on the mat. And it's Tracy that's in deep on a double. Sachsel locks over top, hooks a leg, but it's Tracy that's coming up behind. Sachsel still holds a leg. No call made yet by the official, and that is Vinny Russo officiating with Dan Mahoney. Sachsel up onto the feet. 2-point takedown, Tracy Boonton.
A little over 30 seconds gone by as Sachsel tries to switch. They go off the mat. We'll come back to the center. 1:24 to go in our opening period. The number 1 and 2 seeds advancing to the final. John Sachsel, number 1. Jamie Tracy, number 2.
And I think we'll find today that the seeds on a whole held up very well. We did have some upsets, but it's nice to see in the first weight class that the seeding individuals the other night did their job and have the number 1 and 2 meeting here in the final. Tracy with a nice tight waist, hooks that leg. Rides near arm.
It was Tracy who won the District 9 title last weekend as he defeated Jason Kay of Parsippany Hills 10-0. Sachsel defeated Kay in the quarterfinal round last night by a score of 4-1.
Attempted switch by Sachsel. Nice job of following by Tracy. Stall called on top. Tracy of Boonton riding parallel. Must work out to the side and attempt to work for the fall. Good shot of Tracy. It was won by scores of 7-1, 7-3. Have a record of 25-3 at this point going into the finals. He will take the optional start on top and allow Sachsel to get 1 point neutral, feeling that he had the takedown at the beginning of the match, and he will be able to get that takedown a second time and possibly build up a 4-1 lead by the end of this period. It's Sachsel that moves in, though, on the barrel roll. Sachsel has a leg, but has to come across Tracy's back in order to pick up the points. Tracy fights it very nicely. Sachsel still in tight. Tracy fighting the move off. Sachsel switches to a double, attempts a trip, gets the takedown, and takes the 3-2 lead.
And he does so with 19 seconds left in the opening period. John Sachsel, the sophomore out of New Providence, 27-2 this year, 47-5 overall. Tracy enters 24-3, 59-18 overall, and last year Jamie Tracy was voted the most improved wrestler at Boonton High School.
And Sachsel coming in again, Matt, with a 4-1 victory and a 5-3 overtime victory. The question will be, does that overtime victory take a little more out of you in the finals here? Tracy up nicely, breaks away, ties the score up with a second or two to go.
And we're tied at 3 with 1 second remaining in the first period. Warm day in this gymnasium, and a warm afternoon outside. Doesn't get cold too often in the winter anymore around here, it seems, and very warm in here.
The humidity that we have outside with the rain has made it very, very close in here. And I think as the crowd begins to continue to build in the later bouts, it's going to be more difficult for the wrestlers involved. 3-3, the end of the first period, first weight class. Tracy stands, Sachsel holds on to leg, trips, drives him off mat.
Last year, Mike Miller of Hanover Park won this weight class, defeating Brian Colling of Bailey Ellard. He pinned him at 351. Pat Bartels of Scotch Plains finished third, and we will see Bartels in the next weight class as Pat is up to 112 this year.
Again, Miller went down and ended up taking a second in the state, so we had a tremendous wrestler come out of this particular region a year ago.
Tracy played soccer at Boonton this year, was a starter at the fullback or defender position, and he gets the neutral position as he gets a point for the escape and takes a 4-3 lead.
Tracy again with a nice double on his shot. Sachsel trying to use the little bit of extra length he has to keep the toes on the mat, but it's Tracy. It's coming into a good position for the 2. Official Russo signaling no control yet. There's the control, there's the 2. Tracy staying nicely in the legs, keeping Sachsel's leg split, making it easy to come up her body and attempt to turn his opponent.
50 seconds remaining in the second period. Jamie Tracy with a 6-3 advantage over John Sachsel of New Providence.
Sachsel attempts to switch, gets the leg, but unable to come behind, still down.
In the semifinal round, we noticed that John liked to use the switch. Seems to be one of his favorite moves.
Has a nice switch and uses legs well, and he is unable to get them in at this point. If he gets the legs in, he can maybe make this a somewhat closer match, a 47-5 record in his second year. John Kulo of Cranford taking a third place here at 103 and a hard-fought 7-5 overtime victory over David Lombardi of Millburn. For very fine wrestlers here at our first weight class in Region 3.
And we will let you know as we get a little farther along in our coverage of the Region 3 championships just who all those third-place finishers were, because they have an awful right to be proud because they move on in the competition.
Matt, the situation is that they can come back and end up hitting this particular champion again in the second bout on Wednesday evening. So some of the matchups that occurred today will be occurring again. Tracy riding a little high right now, giving Sachsel a chance to come up. Attempts to switch again. Tracy, good job of riding arm and staying behind.
23 seconds remaining, and looks like Tracy shaken up a little bit, and some injury time will be taken. A 6-3 advantage for Jamie Tracy as we look at Gary Bremer, the head coach at New Providence, and what a great year it was for the Pioneers. 13-3 in the dual season, and they won the sectional championship in a thrilling bout, which we had the pleasure of televising as they edged out longtime power Roselle Park. And before the start of the championships today, Gary was honored for coaching that team and coaching them to such a fine season.
And we're going to see 4 coaches that fit that bill today, Matt. Coach Liberata from Parsippany and Coach McDonald from Westfield, along with Coach Bremer and Coach Myron from Millburn, the 4 district coaches of the year. And a very nice distinction for Coach Myron of Millburn to have been selected by his fellow coaches as the region coach of the year. And that had to be a tough decision for very, very quality people up for that award this year.
We've talked about what we've called the super region. Ernie Finizio, the state tournament director, would prefer that we just call it the preliminary and pre-quarterfinal rounds. He says because that's what they were called at Princeton when everyone went to wrestle on a Wednesday evening. Regions 1 and 2 on Wednesday will be at Wallkill Valley. Regions 3 and 4 here again at Union. Regions 5 and 6 at Red Bank. And down south at Cherry Hill East will be regions 7 and 8.
Sachsel again coming up to his feet. The Boonton wrestler is going to have to move out to the side and not ride parallel or warn, take a chance on being warned that second time for stalling.
No points awarded. 5 seconds remaining. It stays 6-3.
Sachsel still looks somewhat fresh out there at the end of the second period.
And that'll do it. 6-3 advantage for Jamie Tracy as we prepare to enter the third period. I want to get back for a moment, Jerry, to that preliminary and pre-quarterfinal round being held at 4 different sites. Princeton was not available until 2 weeks from today, and I understand all the reasons why the State Athletic Association looked to move to a site that could accommodate the state championships a week after the regions. I have no qualms with that. I think what we should do, though, is explain what this preliminary and pre-quarterfinal round being held at 4 different sites does. The second place finisher, let's use regions 3 and 4 as the example. The second place finisher in region 3 will wrestle the third place wrestler from region 4, and vice versa. 2 from 4 will wrestle the third place finisher from 3. And then the winners will go on and wrestle the champions, who will be seeded. The way I understand it, just like they would do for the states if they were at Princeton, the region winners will be seeded, and that seeding will hold up all the way through.
Yes, it will. And then what's going to happen is on Friday night, it is follow the winner. So there will be some young men going to Atlantic City with their bags and maybe not unzipping them immediately. Yeah. Some young men will be going home without wrestling if the person who has defeated them does not continue.
All have acknowledged that's the one shortcoming of the system this year, and my guess is that will be adjusted and corrected in the future. All right, we have just started the third period. Jamie Tracy leading John Sachsel 6-3.
Riding through the crotch, good 2-on-1, good control, looking for his tilts. Sachsel again, too low to the mat, needs some height. He's been working hard on his switches, but not able to follow through. He could possibly come behind here. He comes behind, and he brings it down to a 6-5 deficit at this point. 6-5 with 1 minute and 20 to wrestle.
Lots of time left in this third period.
That's with the legs on, looking for a power half. He can't have the official call him for the stall. He may not get those legs in again. Tracy doing a nice job, not going flat to the mat. Coming out the back door, and Tracy will soon have 2 as he comes out the back end, has his reversal.
Boosting his lead back up to a 3-point margin, 8-5 with 55 seconds remaining. Tracy in the black singlet. Sachsel in the mainly green singlet. Neutral makes it 8-6 with 40 seconds left. And the crowd comes alive.
Sachsel had needed to make the shot, and he didn't. He allowed the Boonton wrestler, Tracy, to move in for that takedown. Not aware on his feet. He had a shot of coming in, and I think you look at that face and he realizes he did not make the move. He's looking for some sort of a stalemate here to maybe have one more shot. Crowd wanted the stalemate. They have it. Still 18 seconds. He has to make the shot to get it into overtime.
Yeah, he looked once at the clock, and we got a good shot of it. Took a glance up, saw that he had some time left, but was in a position he did not want to be in.
He has to take the shot. Losing 10-6 or 8-6 is no different. He has to be the one to make the move here with a few seconds to go.
A point added to Sachsel's total as a stalling warning issued once again to Tracy for backing up. 7 seconds left, 8-7 the score. And 2 for the takedown, and that'll do it, as Tracy will advance by a 10-7 margin over John Sachsel, and it is Jamie Tracy of Boonton who is the winner at 103 pounds.
Again, with 5 or 6 seconds left, Sachsel did attempt the headlock, didn't have it as tight as he would have liked. Prefer to see someone go along with the headlock and lose by 3 points than 1. Nice job of slipping the headlock by the Boonton wrestler. Well-deserved championship for Tracy.
And so we have crowned our first winner. Both will go on, along with John Kukalo of Cranford, and will advance to Wednesday's preliminary and pre-quarterfinal round action here at Union High School. We are joined now by Jamie Tracy, the winner at 103 pounds. And Jamie, congratulations on your performance. Tell us a little bit about your bout.
Well, I thought I should have got first seed, and he was seeded over me. But that's, I don't know. I didn't really expect to do this good in the beginning of the year.
At what point of the season did you realize you could do as well as you did?
I don't know. It's just around, right before the counties, I started really winning some key matches that I didn't think I would win. And a lot of it, like my 140-pounder CC Dunn, he has a lot to do with it, because he really gets me hyper for my matches, gets me up for them.
What are you thinking about now as you will advance to the pre-quarterfinal round as the Region 3 champion?
Well, now I have confidence, and I know I have potential to place in the state.
Well, we wish you the best of luck as you advance in the States, and congratulations on being the Region 3 champion.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Jamie Tracy, the Boonton wrestler, and one of the beauties of athletics, Jerry, is if you feel you've been wrong, you get a chance. Not all the time, but a lot of times you get a chance to right it, and I guess Jamie Tracy felt he was wrong, and he got a chance to prove it.
And he did a fine job in that final bout.